Look, there is no way to describe what happened at Rockets Clippers last night without sounding like you are reading a script from a Will Ferrell movie. And even then, the studio would come back at you, right? And say, no. That's way too unrealistic. You got to take some of that out. Players from one team storming the other's locker room, secret passages, diversions, police, Twitter escalations. And that's not even including what happened in the game, which was, with less than 4 minutes to go, the Rockets are upset about a missed goaltending call, and Blake Griffin bumps Mike D'Antoni on his way back down the court. Or as D'Antoni would put it later, he hit me and I didn't appreciate it. Of course, on a normal night, that happening between a 5-time All-Star and a 2-time Coach of the Year would be a big deal. But hey, then Chris Paul fouls Blake Griffin, which led to enough drama that the two former teammates had to be separated. But even that turned out to be nothing compared to a couple minutes later when Trevor Ariza ripped Blake's compression tights. Griffin then beamed Eric Gordon in the back as he was falling out of bounds, which led to more shouting, particularly at, wait for it, Austin Rivers, who wasn't even playing, which led both Griffin and Ariza to get ejected. And again, let me say this, none of that is even the crazy part. No, the crazy part was that after the game, Chris Paul, who of course knows the Staples Center well after playing there for years, led James Harden and Trevor Ariza through a private passageway that connects the two teams' locker rooms. Did they plan this while singing the Backstreet Boys in that State Farm commercial? We'll never know. Did CP3 try to perform this as a sneak attack while dressed in his Cliff Paul fake mustache and glasses? Again, we'll never know. But we do know they were joined by Gerald Green, who is so down for a team he joined 5 minutes ago he's willing to get suspended. And then they tried to storm the Clippers locker room looking for Austin and possibly Blake to what exactly? Throw punches? Exchange some sharply worded bon mots? I don't know. Meanwhile, Clint Capella knocking on the front door of the Clippers locker room because clearly when you want a diversion to distract your targets from your locker room assault plan, you send the 7-foot Swiss guy. Or not, because apparently whoever answered the door then slammed it in Capella's face. Eventually, the Rockets returned to their locker room and LAPD officers were posted by the team buses. You'll be shocked to hear that after that, NBA Twitter got involved. Here's Pat Beverly, quote, "It's a different culture in LA. No more soft stuff here." The Utah Jazz asking, do we have tunnels? Blake Griffin just tweeting a gif of the Joker from Batman, and JJ Redick volunteering to podcast the schematics of the Staples locker room. Oh, and Houston GM Daryl Morey tweeting this, which, yes, I will be asking Paul Pierce about in just a minute. Look, it is safe to say that punishment from the NBA is coming. An investigation has already started. But no matter how this movie ends, I'm already giving it a rave review. Hollywood has nothing on the NBA. Paul Pierce, you have been part of this Clippers-Rockets rivalry. You were part of Emoji Gate, as we all remember. Tell me what your reaction is to the histrionics last night.
You know what? I just think that throughout the game, you know, being that Chris left on kind of like a sour note, you know, it was jabs, Doc threw jabs. Austin threw some jabs. You know, Chris said what he had to say. I wasn't there last night, but if I had to imagine, I could just see on the sideline Austin Rivers talking the whole night, saying stuff to Chris, trying to get in his head. Those two didn't have the greatest relationship, and it escalated toward the end when they got altercations and the hard fouls and all that stuff. I could say, like, man, I could see Chris Paul and some other guys going back there. Let me see what that kid was saying. Let me see what if he gonna say it to my face. Let me see what they got to say. And he took the guys back there and wanted to see firsthand what was said. That's the typical NBA fight now. A lot of words, no throwing punches.
But never have we had the tunnel.
Twitter wars. The tunnel is a whole new thing right there. That makes for a great, like you said, next
See, I know where the tunnel is now because I asked off camera, so now that's where I'm hanging out from now on.
That's how I used to exit, through that little secret passage.
In the back,
so
right.
You know, that's what I would go through to the other visiting locker room to see old friends.
Right, to say hi.
You know, so
to
they
use
can
it in a nice
but,
way.
You know, I think Chris
because Paul's an angel.
Chris just wanted to say his one last goodbye. He's really good friends with the trainers, the physical therapy people.
That's what he wanted. And he took 3 of his friends, just, for backup, to say goodbye.
And then just in case anything escalated, he had his guys.
Especially that 6'10" Swiss guy.
Right, exactly. It's like the Shawshank Redemption they're tunneling through. I mean, Jackie, You've spent so much time with the Rockets.
Right,
this summer
and I mean,
fall.
I don't think any of us are particularly surprised that there would be emotions around this game. And I've always said this, when there's emotions, either great things are going to happen or really awful things are going to happen. There's never anything in between. When you become emotionally invested, when it becomes personal, and this game was personal for Chris Paul, I think it was personal for Doc Rivers, for Blake Griffin, and even for Austin Rivers, who didn't play in the game. There were just a lot of bad feelings in the wake of that. And the feelings got worse as we all wrote our stories and little details came out. So this is what happens when things get emotional. And I think for Chris Paul, this had to have been a really difficult loss to absorb. I think he wanted to go back there and win big. And it didn't turn out that way.
And the group that came in, Trevor Ariza, the witnesses told me last night, was the one who led the group in. Chris was a little further toward the back.
They're good friends, by the way. They played together in New Orleans, so that relationship between
they're
the
really
two of
tight.
them
They're really
goes
tight.
back even
And
beyond
Trevor,
Houston.
remember, Trevor, he was having words with Austin right around the time when he and Blake both got ejected, and that's what escalated it, certainly. And when they were headed down the hall and they were coming in the locker room, the name that players were hearing, the voices were more toward Austin Rivers than Blake Griffin. They got their chance to get a piece of Blake on the
During
court.
the game, right.
But as Paul said, they didn't have that chance with Austin, and as he said, there are a lot of hard feelings between Chris and really the Rivers family.